Hey folks, it's Yannick Gwizdala. It's the Yannick Gwizdala podcast, November 11th, 2024. Let's get stuck into my take on what I consider fake reviews, the kind of gear, scammy, questionable ethics that occur in our little corner of the gear/music world of the internet. And hopefully by the end of this video, I'll have given you a little bit more information than perhaps you already had. I'll give you what is essentially just my take on the whole situation, how I navigate this kind of landscape as, for want of a better word, a YouTuber on some levels, and how you might learn to look out for the telltale signs of who you can trust and what you can trust and where you get your information from when it comes to gear. Who's doing what? Why are they doing it? Where are the motivations? And if I miss anything, because this is stream of consciousness, this is an episode of the podcast, this is not scripted, although it is mentally researched for a very long time, and I've been wanting to make this video or talk about this subject for an incredibly long time. There are going to be things I inevitably miss, so I encourage you to get in the comments as soon as you hear something that you're like, oh, I'm not sure about that, or perhaps you don't understand it, you need clarification. I'm really happy to have that conversation, to continue the conversation one-on-one in the comments. That's the best place to interact and to get your question answered and to apply for more clarity if I miss something or if I don't fully explain it. We are going to get into so many different aspects of gear, of music gear, of, specifically bass stuff, because that's where I live. We're going to maybe compare it a little bit with the guitar world, drum world, keyboard world, other lanes that exist on the internet, look at a few subtle differences. One of the big things we're going to be doing on the next episode of the podcast, and I'm announcing it here, is giving away. So I'm not going to show you what it is. We're going to do a giveaway. It's a pretty healthy giveaway, actually. It's not something that's particularly cheap. It's something I have been using for a really long time, and it will help highlight how I am navigating the world of paid reviews, of reviews in general, of talking about a product, piece of gear on my channel with an audience, with a not an insignificant number of people listening and watching, and how that affects everything and how that has affected me, how I've changed my process over the years. And hopefully doing this giveaway will be one link in the chain of explaining how I'm dealing with it and how I see it. I've got some notes here, so although not scripted, I've definitely try to prepare as much as possible for this. Let's see, where should we start? Yes, okay, so it exists. Fake reviews, paid reviews exist all over the place. You may or may not be aware of them. Some of them are far more obvious than others. Some channels are just shilling for their own benefit. Perhaps they're not. They're very rarely, actually, almost never a company. It's very obvious when, Boss or Yamaha, they have a video on their channel. It's like, hey, check out our new instrument. It's pretty obvious that, Yamaha's got a new bass. Great, they're going to advertise the bass. There's no funny business there. They want to sell you a bass. They want to show you their latest product. That is, I think, maybe the most honest place you get to see a product. Now, granted, so many there are two thoughts here. So many of those videos are like way over the top or just stupid, and maybe pointless, and that's a whole other discussion to get into when companies get let loose with the marketing credit card and make some questionable choices when they deliver you a product, and you're like, I just want to see the fucking thing, like show me some functions, show me that it sounds great. And there's all this extracurricular, people in sunglasses and cinematic shots and all this stuff that are maybe unnecessary. Of course, there's that. So when it comes to the company's own product videos. So that's one thing. There is something I have been a part of in the past where companies will get artists, known artists. In my case, I've never been hired in, I don't think. And here's another thing. I have to really check myself. I've been looking back through old videos. I've tried to do as much research as possible to give you accurate information, especially with my history with all this stuff. So if I've missed something and you remember that, oh man, you're saying you never did this, but actually you did, please link it in the comments below. I would love to own up to that, admit to it. If I'm saying I didn't do something, I did. Please keep me honest in that respect. That's really, really important to me. I've gone back as far as I possibly can, and will have examples of me doing things in the past that I am not a fan of doing now, and I think were mistakes, and we'll get to those in the video for sure. But when it comes to companies and their own channels, for instance, I can think of one instance with Boss where I did a product video, and I was absolutely hired to do that. I was like an actor in a movie, essentially. I was there to read a script and to play the product, and I was paid for my time. So in that sense, there are... I knew this was going to happen, stream of consciousness, because I'm having conflicting elements coming together, and I have to sort them out in real time and present them as eloquently as possible. Under the heading paid review, I think it's really important to understand and to be able to recognize where an artist such as myself, and of course I can only speak from my own experience in that case. In the case of doing I forget what the unit was actually, it was a Boss floor unit that I went to do a demo for. And I know the people at Boss, and I've known them for a long time. Obviously, I play the OC2. I play a bunch of Boss products. I'm a big fan of a lot of Boss products. I've bought with my own money a lot of Boss products and talked about them on my channel. And so it was sort of, in their eyes, I guess, oh, this is a good match. We'll get this person who's sort of known for doing some Boss things to come in and talk about this thing. I think it's really important to understand that in that case, I had nothing to do with the production of the video, the production of the content, the writing of the script. That I had no input whatsoever. So I was simply being paid for my time, essentially, as an actor in that situation, and was not consulted at all about sounds, about script, about presentation, about production, story, nothing. I think it's important to be able to recognize when somebody is a paid actor for something, or whether that is someone's personal channel where it's their opinion being given, and perhaps they're being paid for their opinion. We're going to get to that. So that's one lane of even on a company's own channel, where you have to be aware of, like, okay, what exactly is going on here? And most of the time, I think you can tell it's a glossy production. It's all fancy. It's like, yeah, this is an ad. This is a marketing, a launch. It's pretty obvious. I think when it's not so obvious is when you get a huge channel, and there are tons of them out there. I mean, we can look at, especially when it's not a company, not like a Boss or Yamaha or Earthquake Devices or whoever the company is, when it's like a store, like an Andertons or a Thomann in Europe, for instance, or Sweetwater or whoever it is, the big box stores like that. I think then you start to have to, I have to start to ask some questions, like, of course, these stores sell these products. So they want to make sales. So they're going to talk favorably about the product when they make a video about it. Now, are they being selective, like only making videos about products they truly like, and as a byproduct, they get to sell more of those? Or are they just talking favorably about every new thing that comes out? Now, I have to put my hands up right away and say, I honestly have not watched enough videos to know, like, oh, I think like 80% of the time they're right on it, and 20% of the time they're just shilling. I don't know what that balance is. It could be 100 to 0 or 0 to 100. I don't know, but I do get the sense that I have to ask myself the question of, like, yeah, I have to kind of ignore almost what's being said by the person and listen solely to the output of the product. That's kind of the way I approach anything when I go into something. I think some of my favorite videos are just a shot of the pedal or whatever the product is and sound samples without any talking. Of course, it's nice to have insight from someone you really respect as a musician. You're like, oh yeah, I love the way they sound. I love the way they use things. And, I really want their insight as to how they put that in context with other things. I mean, I'm talking a lot about pedals here, for instance. So pedals in context and how a filter affects a synth sound or something like that, it can be really useful information, and I do like that as part of the presentation. There's a presentation of I think this is one thing that sold me on it as well, was I want to say his name is Ricky Tenez. Now, this is one thing I didn't research. So as we go here, I'm going to look this up on YouTube. It's the Meris Autobit Jr. And actually shout out to Meris for doing what I think is a great job on their own video of the Autobit, because they included bass. So often in our little corner of the world, we want to use all these pedals, and they're mainly guitar demos and guitar reviews, and very few people, even the manufacturers, very few of them put anything out there that includes bass. And Meris did. I totally understand that a bulk of their own video from 7 years ago now on the Meris channel, you can go check this out. The bulk of it is guitar, because I think it's aimed more at guitar players, but there is some bass on there, and that really helped inform me about what it sounded like on the instrument. Really helped sell it. Ricky Tenez, yeah, that's it. There's a video. In fact, if I remember, I will try and link to this video. Ricky Tenez, and it hasn't got anything to do with guitar or bass, and I thought it was a really well-rounded sort of explanation of the pedal. I appreciated his insight as a musician from a different walk of life. So I'm also looking for that on a lot of times, and who knows, maybe you all are as well, and you're going to bomb the comments and say, yeah, what the fuck are you talking about? We all know this already. This is not new information. So yeah, if I was standing here giving a clinic or something in a room with 200 people talking about this, maybe I'd say, hey, put up your hands if you've heard this shit before, and I'll stop and move on to something else. In the interests of making this as well-rounded as possible, I shall continue. But that's one thing I really appreciate about those things when it comes to actually having some talking in the review / demo. I cannot remember whether that's a paid promotion, the Ricky Tenez one, whether he bought the pedal, whether they sent it. I don't know. There are so many different levels of that. And let's get into that next. Let's get into companies that send pedals to content creators, to people who make videos for YouTube and other platforms. And let's talk about how all the levels of that and what goes on sort of behind the scenes. As a person who that happens to and has happened to for a very long time, I can tell you that, let's see, where do I start? Because there are examples that I'm not particularly proud of, and I will expose those, absolutely. But as a general rule, companies send stuff, or they send an email, and they say, hey, do you want to check this thing out? The coolest companies just say, hey, do you want to check this out? And I think a lot of people are going to say, well, yeah, of course they're sending you their stuff because you have 90 or 100,000 subscribers on YouTube and they want you to make it. It's an unwritten or just there's an understanding, an unspoken understanding between manufacturer and content creator that you're going to make a video and they're sending you this thing for free. So you're going to make the content and expose their product and give them promotion. I will say that the coolest companies never talk about making a video. The coolest companies say, hey, we've got this new thing coming out and we'd like to send you one. Great. Now, is there an understanding that I'm going to make it? Who knows? I can't get inside the heads of those companies. But what I will say is that personally, at least for some time now, I was trying to see where the cutoff was, where the last time I made a video of something that I was not into. Unfortunately, the honesty valve is wide open with me, and I'm sitting here. I grabbed a couple of things off the shelf that I still have, like the Dark Glass Element, for instance. They sent me one of these, and I said, "Oh yeah, I'll make a video about this." It was when I was trying to do like more content for the Pedal Studio series, and it was actually something I was really interested in. You know, being a new dad and wanting a practice amp kind of thing. I thought, oh, this will be cool because I can practice anywhere in the house and keep an eye on my daughter whilst using this thing to practice. That'll be cool. It ended up, I actually didn't talk very favorably about it at all and put out the video because and I think they've updated it since. I haven't checked into it actually, but as of the launch time when they sent me this, it was advertised to do a bunch of things that it did not yet do. I believe they updated them. They definitely sent me a photograph of a bunch of their employees sitting around a conference table watching my video on a big screen on YouTube. And I was like, oh, okay. So props to anyone who takes feedback. It wasn't like a "this is shit, don't buy it." It was just, man, maybe you want to think about having the features in the product that you say are there before you launch it and get it out there to the public. So props to anyone who takes feedback like that and does something about it. But that was maybe the last time. There was the Source Audio C4 synth pedal that I just didn't, some things just didn't work on it that they said did. And then the UI for the programming was garbage. It just really didn't work at all. It was just an awful thing to look at. It looked like it looked like Reason used to, like 25 years ago or something. It was just so outdated. So I have said some less than pleasant things about certain products and posted the video. Now I'm of the opinion, like, if I don't like it, I'm not going to make a video about it. I'm not going to talk about it. And, you know, that nobody really wins by talking shit about anything, I don't think. And that's an evolution. That's not something I was always capable of doing. That's something that has evolved over time. And that sort of bleeds nicely into where my philosophy is now. Because on one extreme, and I've got a couple of things. Do I have the ephemeron's on my board, so I'm not going to pick that up and show it to you, but it was the same with the Iron Ether Dub Terrania. Basically on the one end of it, like, you're in there with the company from the ground floor. Like, I was asked to be like on the beta testing, feedback team. You each get a prototype pedal long before it's launched. I think there were maybe 5 or 6 of us on that list, and we each got one of these. I think it was for the Dub Terrania and for the Ephemeron. So that's one kind of unique situation where you're actually involved in, I guess, the development in certain aspects, because we're giving feedback to the builder, and perhaps some of those things get folded into the pedal before it gets launched, and the builder wants feedback about what works, what doesn't, what would you change. It takes all of those ideas into consideration before making a final product. I wish more people did that. I think to send out 6 prototypes and get 6 opinions of people that you respect as musicians is a very small price to pay for a pedal that could be 10 times better as a result of that information. So that's sort of one end of the spectrum. I was by no means paid for that. I believe that the Dub Terrania and the Ephemeron are still both prototypes. I was never even sent a final production. I think I got a chip update for the Ephemeron, because the builder was able to change something in there that was based on feedback from all of us that were testing it. But there was no money changed hands, and I'm sure if you're aware of Iron Ether, it's a one-person operation, very limited output, no big sponsorship deals at all. And because I was so psyched on the way both pedals sounded, I was really happy to help promote a small company and talk about something that I felt was really musical. So that's one end of the spectrum, how this stuff comes to me, at least. And maybe this is true for other people as well. Again, I can only speak for myself. You kind of go up that spectrum a little bit to where a company like Gojira Effects, for instance, wanted to do, this is their Trembulator, their tremolo pedal, and I had talked quite a lot, and here's testament to people who pay attention, excuse me, people who pay attention and are perhaps fans or followers of what I do, or whoever they're targeting to play their gear. I talked about the Boss PN2 a lot, and having an aggressive tremolo, and I believe this was maybe built based on that. I'm not sure if the build was custom to me. I'd have to go back, because this is quite old now. I don't really remember. But obviously, the Union flag, the paint job was custom to me, and they reached out and said, "Hey, would you like one of these with a custom paint job?" It would kind of be cool. Again, no money changed hands, and there was no expectation of making a video. But as we move into this next phase of how gear comes to me and what I do with it, I think there's no better endorsement of a product or no better review than it actually being on a pedal board. And for quite some time, this was on my pedal board. There is a video on my channel featuring it. One of those videos I like to listen to myself and watch myself, just sound samples, no talking. I'll link to that in the description below so you can check it out. So there's another way things come to me. Let's talk about the way companies approach and send emails. I've pulled up a couple of emails here, and these are very typical, and these come in, I would say now, every 2 or 3 days. That's not because I'm some superstar or anything. That's literally because I think, there are a shitload of companies that want their brand new product out there. A lot of Chinese companies, a lot of companies from Southeast Asia that are popping up. And I think they just follow the number of subscribers a person has on a given platform. Of course, I'm not on social media. I'm just on YouTube. So now my numbers are creeping towards the 100,000 subscriber mark. And after they hit like even 65 or 70,000, I started to get these emails more often. But now as they get to the like 6 digits area, we're still a few thousand away, but it's definitely going in that direction. Now it gets there. These emails come in, I would say, on average twice a week right now. So I probably get over 100 of these emails a year. And maybe I'll try and throw it up on screen. Let's see. I'll read it out to you right now. This one is from The One Sing. Some of them are kind of hard to understand as well, but they're essentially a product, and this is what they're asking for. Blah, 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 little intro thing, a little thing about the product. And this is a second, third, but sometimes it's fourth email. We wanted to follow up on our previous invitation to collaborate on the review of our new smart piano. Already, you're like, okay, they're not contacting me because I'm me. They're contacting me because I have subscribers on YouTube. We believe your unique perspective would be a fantastic addition to our campaign. So I'm going to call bullshit on that. Because it isn't, and I'm not a piano player. Even though I might find something musical or critical to say about it. As a reminder, we're thrilled to offer you a free sample of the One Sing Smart Piano, which has an MSRP of $599. For our launch, we're offering it at a special early bird price of $399. Additionally, you would earn approximately 10% commission on each sale made through your unique affiliate link, which amounts to around $39 per sale. We noticed that you haven't replied yet, and we'd love to know if you're interested in this collaboration or if you have any questions or concerns. So it's a really typical email of a company I've never heard of, will never hear of again, I'm sure, and I will never reply to the email. So if you're watching, that's try again. I mean, that's just a copy paste generic. This person has some subscribers, so let's send them an email. We don't even care that they're a piano player or not type of thing. That's very typical. You get things like this one from like marketing companies, like aggregators. They're a middle person. They want to connect. We want to connect you with this company, blah, blah, blah. So this one came in yesterday, 11 p.m. Hope you're doing well. I'm Lily from InfluMarket, a seasoned influencer marketing agency with 100+ successful brand influencer partnerships. Going to call bullshit on that. I'm reaching out to discuss a potential collaboration opportunity with you about YouTube dedicated video. Grammar not good here. We've been following your YouTube video content closely. Again, bullshit, and believe there's a great fit between your audience and the products offered by some of our clients. And this is how clueless they are. Our first featured brand is Tad.ai, which creates original songs with your choice of genres and moods using text prompts. So this has got nothing to do with bass at all. Anyway, those are two typical ones. Those come through. They're almost like spam. But occasionally there'll be some things that sort of make sense that are actually guitar or bass products. They can be as benign as a stand, like a bass stand, guitar stand, or they can be as complex as the latest Chinese ripoff of the Quad Cortex or the HX Stomp. I've tried to grab some of those really quickly before I hit record because I have dozens of them, but I literally just delete them as soon as I see them. One company, and here's where we get to. Yeah, we'll get to this lane here as we're already kind of in it, and then we'll get to where I'm at and what I actually do, which this sounds really like, hey, stick around, but it might surprise you as to my take on it and where I've sort of landed in terms of how I respond or just how I deal with all the things you see on my channel. So I'm going to reveal exactly why you see things on my channel and how I get to that point. But first, one company that reached out kind of early in the new onslaught, new wave of these kind of emails, when those emails were really ramping up and I was actually reading them all the way through and considering what they were offering, I got an email from a company called XVive, Chinese company. They make a bunch of different stuff. And it was at a time where I really was at a place where I was like, man, I could really do with trying a bunch of different in-ears and maybe I'll get some generics. Do I really need molds right now? Am I going to go like the Ultimate Ears or one of these big companies that are a couple of grand? What do I really need? Where's the quality level in a basic set of in-ear monitors? Now, before you tell me that this is just starting to sound like an ad for XVive and their in-ear monitors, which if you're only listening, I'm literally holding up the box of this product right now. Hear me out. Full transparency, XVive contacted me. They wanted to send me product and they wanted to know my rate for making an ad for their products. They sent me in-ear monitors, they sent me a wireless in-ear receiver, and they sent me their, U2 guitar wireless system. Also, full disclosure, they sent me these a year ago. The wireless thing and the in-ear receiver literally haven't been out of the box. I have not opened them, have not used them, have no idea how they sound, whatever. So there, full disclosure on that. And I did, not for half a second, I wrote back and I said, I don't do paid reviews. Like, they wanted a dedicated 5-10 minute video on, as most people do when they have a product, they want a YouTube video. And there are obviously thousands of them out there. You've seen tons of them. When you search for a product, tons of them will come up. Dedicated videos saying, hey, this is the thing and it's so great and I'm using it. And blah, most of them are bullshit. This is where I call bullshit on reviews. When it's a dedicated 5 to 10 minute video on a product that kind of makes no sense with the person that is using it. Now, there are exceptions. This is a very a blanket statement. And of course, there are going to be exceptions. And I hope that by us talking about it or me talking to you about it, it brings up the fact that maybe you just should ask a few more questions than you already are. I know I need to ask more questions when I see this stuff. I hope all of this feeds into that mode of moving forward when you're looking for information. So I wrote back and I said, hey, I don't do paid reviews, number one. I've always said that. And we can talk about, we are going to talk about some details of that in the past where you're going to say, but you did this thing with the bitmap, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get to that Red Panda pedal thing. So I said to them, I don't do paid reviews, but I will take your money and I will do a dedicated 30 to 60 second ad in one of my videos. I won't specify which video it's going to be. We can do a basic release schedule, like you want it in the middle of September. Okay, great. And it will be on a video. Maybe it's a video about scales. Maybe it's a video about, maybe it's a podcast episode. Who knows? But I will make a dedicated 30 to 60 second video, ad video that says, go buy these in-ears or these, whatever, just a commercial, something I am not endorsing in any way. And I'm making it very clear that I'm being paid to make an ad. They are essentially purchasing the exposure that a given video gives them. It is not my ringing endorsement of the product at all, which I think is the thing that leaves a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, is that a lot of these videos, these 5 to 10 minute demo videos, review videos, really say like, oh yeah, I'm using this. Like, this is the greatest thing. And there are some channels that only do that. There are some artists that do that from time to time. And I totally get it. You can charge $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 depending on your, fucking $10,000. Why not? Depending on your size. Jesus, if you're the Joe Rogan Experience, you're charging $100,000 for an ad read. It's all relative, and there is money to be made. But I felt early on that I don't want to shill products just for a little bit of short-term cash and no long-term gain. So okay, here's what happened. I said, okay, I'll do it. And then they agreed. And they said, okay, great. We'll give you, man, I want to say, I think it was like $1,500 for a 30-second ad, and I was going to charge $2,000 for a 60-second ad. I want to say that was going to be the rate. Shit, I may have just shot myself in the foot and undervalued whatever, and people are going to say, oh, but you said whatever. I think it was those were the kinds of numbers I was throwing around, and they said yes. And maybe it was less, maybe it was more, I don't know. I don't want to like, oh yeah, this company agreed to whatever. Something in that realm, whatever the amount was, the transaction was made, and we all agreed on the parameters. So then I opened the box. Literally after that, like I hadn't even plugged them in. I didn't, whatever. It was just going to be an ad. There were 1,000 things on my to-do list. I didn't need to be checking out in-ear monitors that desperately. And here's where you can go and check me on this, and you can go and, realize that I'm being honest when I tell you this, and I'm not bullshitting you. I plugged them in. And I was like, oh, let me do an episode of the podcast. I can't remember what it was that I did first. Let me just wear them, doing an episode of the podcast, because I was getting sick. As much as I love these, I was getting sick of doing, that was what it was. I was getting sick of doing long episodes of the podcast with these big, bulky, over-ear headphones on. It just seemed kind of unnecessary. These are awesome for some mixing or relaxing and playing music or whatever, and listening to music, but they weren't great for like taking a bass on and off. And I feed the in-ears down my back, so I can take a bass on and off really easily. So I did an episode of the podcast, and I was like, oh, these things actually sound great. And it's a Chinese company, like you don't know how's the quality. I was totally at the ground floor, I had no idea about them. And then I was like, as soon as I was like, they sound great, I was like, okay, let me use them for a little while. And you can go back and look. Go back down my channel if you're that nerdy, or if you really want to know, if you really want to see the proof. There's going to be a moment in the timeline where you see me stop using the over-ear headphones, and you see me start. Maybe you don't even see them because they're quite subtle. And if my head is turned that way and the microphone covers up the one that isn't in, you can't even see I'm wearing them. But there's a moment where I just stop using over-ear headphones for videos and go to in-ears. And it was at that moment that I said, oh shit, I can't take money off them now. Like, there's no way. I'm not going to make this ad for them. Let me keep using them, and let me figure out a way to get out of this deal. Like, I don't want to be in this deal anymore, because I don't want to be paid for a product I'm actually using. I don't want to be paid, period, to make a review, but I don't want to be paid for a product I'm actually using. And it's been, I want to say, almost a year. I mean, we've been in this new house for 6 months, and I've been using them. I think it was at least 6 months or more before that they sent me the first pair. And first pair is very important here, because our giveaway is a set of these in-ear monitors. We'll get to that in just a minute. I had to think about it for a couple of months. Like, how do I get out of this deal? I don't want to do this ad for a product I'm using. I don't want to get paid. But I do want to provide value and information about the thing, to give it like a real endorsement, to tell people like, hey, yeah, these are not a $2,500 set of in-ear monitors that are molded to my ears, but holy shit, they sound great, and they're perfect for being here in my studio and doing podcasts, and not being too precious about. Now, they're not $50. I think they retail at around $250. Check me on that. Go check them out on Amazon or whatever. I think that's kind of the price point. So they're not an insignificant amount of money, but quality-wise, for the price, they're freaking awesome. So I banded it, blew it around my brain a little bit. I was like, okay, how do I do this? So I said, okay, I'm not going to do the ad, but at some point I am going to talk about them because I believe in them. Let me call them back, like email them back and say, okay, sorry, I don't want to do the ad. I don't want to do a paid ad, but will you send me another pair so I can give them away to the audience, so I can provide some value to anyone who's watching the video. So it's less of, less shilling a product and more, I actually believe in this thing. And sorry, the computer's just talking so much that I'm not paying attention to my notes. Man, and I can't even enter my password. Man, it got kind of chilly in California all of a sudden. Is the computer just not letting me in? Okay. Could I get my own password right? Oh, that's worrying. Oh, wow. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this maybe this episode doesn't come out. There we go. Finally got it to work. Fingers are just too cold to type. Unbelievable. Yeah, I've totally lost my train of thought right now. Yes, okay, so I got them to send another set of in-ears so I can do a giveaway for you guys and provide some value to the audience. I don't think there's, like I've said a little bit before in this, when I was talking about the Trembulator or any of these things that you see me using all the time, I don't think there's a better endorsement of a product than seeing someone maybe like me whose opinion you trust or music you like, when you see that person actually using it and not just making a 10-minute video and then you never see it again. Granted, there are some things that I have been sent in the past, you will have seen them in videos, and you can't have every pedal on every single pedal board. I'm looking specifically here at the Jam Pedals Rattler. Like, they sent me a bunch of pedals that are freaking amazing, and I was super happy to make videos about them because they were musical, and especially like the Delay Llama Extreme. I think this Rattler's great, the Red Muck, but you just can't have every pedal on every pedal board all the time. I've got over 300 pedals here. It would be impossible. It is impossible. So yeah, there is that thing. The pedals come in and I do use them a limited amount. Like, I haven't used the Dove Terrania for a while, for instance. But they end up being super useful for comparison videos and shootouts, and they get maybe less screen time, but they're still, percolating away in the background. But literally, I use these every single day. It's like on a par with the Line 6 with the HX Stomp. Again, I don't get paid to tell you about this pedal, and don't get me wrong. Like, there are things wrong with the Line 6 HX Stomp. I'm going to have a video coming out about all the things I wish they would improve in it, and perhaps they will. Again, perhaps I'm about to make a video about the HX Stomp that is all going to be solved in 6 months or something. Like, who knows? But there are things that are less than convenient about it, and I feel as though I feel free to be able to talk about that stuff. I think that is one of the key elements, is when you are a paid shill, a paid user. It's like say Coca-Cola are sponsoring you and then you go on the TV drinking a Pepsi. That's pretty bad, right? It's like, or you talk shit about the product. It's just impossible. You can't really be free to do what you want to do. And with this approach, I think I feel like super cool about talking, saying anything about anything, just being able to speak my mind as and when I want. So I know this episode's getting long. I want to get into another element of this when it comes to things I have done in the past. Let's own up to this. Yes, I turned down a bunch of money to make a paid ad for X5 in-ear monitors, and I've just explained why. There are other products that I have made. I want to say it's two things. And I made paid ads for them. I know one of them is Lalal.ai. It's similar to Moise's. It's something you will see. Again, how many videos have I made? The Could I Play Bass With series. That's 20 or 25 videos or something right now. All of them using that product to take out the bass so I can play along and create that video series. So again, yes, I did an ad that was like, again, early days. That was some years ago now. I was like, oh yeah, I could use a couple of grand, so let's do this video. Boom. Let's do this ad rather. And it really is an ad. You can tell that it's an ad. This video is sponsored by. Boom. I think there's something to having sponsored content that doesn't have anything to do with what you do, or not super directly linked. Like I'd hate to say like this episode of the podcast is sponsored by Earthquaker Devices, because I use Earthquaker Devices pedals and I use pedals in general. Perhaps this video is sponsored by Squarespace or something like that, something that's kind of generic, something that you hear everywhere. If a company like that was willing to give me money to sponsor episodes of my podcast or videos that I make, I think I would be way more inclined to take that money, because it would enhance what I was able to do with the channel, maybe another camera, a better lens, or whatever it is. I would like to reinvest that money into what I'm doing. It's not like I'm just putting it in my pocket or trying to buy a Ferrari or something. In that sense, for the YouTube ecosystem, to me, that would make sense. Morally, ethically, I think that would make more sense, and I'd be far more okay with that than, hey, Iron Ether is sponsoring this. That just doesn't feel right to me. So moving on from that, there are a couple of things like that. The Lalao.ai thing I did. There was another one. What was it? And is their name on here? Because I know these headphones came through that. It's I forget the name of the company now, but it's about balancing a room. Again, that's a thing I only really needed to do once, but I used the headphones all the time, and they were balanced by that company, like room tuning. What was the name? Sonic something or the other. But once I get the audio treatment up on the walls in this room, I'll use it again. It's a microphone, and you sort of balance the room for mixing and listening. Again, not a product actually I have to use all the time, because it's sort of a one and done thing for the most part when you're in a room, but actually a product I use. So those are the two instances I can remember where I did paid ads. Two. I have over 1,000 videos on YouTube, I believe, and twice I've done paid ads on my channel. I think maybe you guys are going to be like, but do you remember? Please get in the comments. Let me know. Let me know what I'm forgetting. But those are the two that spring to mind. They were some years ago. Now, whatever, not that matters so much. But in terms of the trajectory I'm on and how I try and avoid this spammy, scammy, shilling kind of paid review thing, that's how I'm moving forward. That's how I look at the timeline. And then there was a couple of things that I did for Perfect Circuit, who are a local store here in Los Angeles, up in Burbank. They're a store I used literally as I was researching for this. I went on their website. I typed in Perfect Circuit, and then no. I didn't type in Perfect Circuit. I was looking at some of my pedal studio videos, and there was one, the Bitmap 2 by Red Panda. Perfect Circuit contacted me as kind of a middleman. Hey, we've got this new pedal in. It's new from Red Panda. We are trying to do some promo for it. I don't know what their relationship with Red Panda was. I didn't deal directly with the company at all. I think that's why I felt sort of okay with doing it at the time. Because that was an instance where I got paid. I was going to say kind of got paid, but yeah, I took a pedal, which wasn't the bitmap in the end, as payment for doing the video, but it was for Perfect Circuit. It was for the store. So it wasn't like, although it was about a pedal, the promotion was more about Perfect Circuit. That's why I was doing it. I don't want this to sound like me justifying, this is why I did it. I'm actually full of shit. That's just the way I remember it. That's the way I see it. I'm looking at the video now. It was March 7th, 2021. It was 3.5 years ago. Things have definitely moved on and changed. And should they call again and ask me to do a video on a pedal, I'd probably say no. Now, in fact, I would definitely say no. Because I would much prefer to do some different collaboration with them. And here, that's actually a perfect segue into how I am doing it. What am I talking about? This is absolutely how I'm doing it, and it's how I've been doing it for a little while. If you've seen the Ultimate DI Shootout, you will have seen that obviously I didn't own all of those DIs, but I wanted to include a bunch. Perfect Circuit had a couple of them, and they were kind enough to lend me them for the video. But I reached out to them, and this is how I'm approaching it now. Yes, of course, companies are always, first of all, welcome to reach out to me. I'm always super interested to try new shit. If anyone's listening, I think that's fantastic. But I think for the most part, I am starting to reach out to companies more, and I want that to be more than companies are contacting me, because then it becomes a totally different thing, a totally different dynamic. It's like, yeah, I reached out and asked for the product to try out and potentially make a video on. So there's no shilling at all. It's like I was the catalyst. I want to be the catalyst moving forward for all of these things. And my standard reply now to a company that reaches out and they say, hey, we've got this thing. Do you want to check it out? And my standard reply is, yeah, sure. I'd love to check it out. I understand there is the potential that I may well make a video about this if I dig it and if I like it. And if not, I'm not going to. For my time, I guess I would like to hold on to the unit. If I spend the time to check it out, that seems like a fair deal. But I'm also always fine, like just sending it back if that's what a company needs. But what I asked for, here's my unique thing, and what, to their credit, X5, once I told them I wasn't going to make the thing and could they send me an extra set to give away, that's what I'm asking for from companies. I'm saying, yeah, check it out. If I dig this thing and if I want to make a video about it, will you send me another unit so I can say to my audience, hey, get in the comments, leave a comment, and the best comment wins, or the randomly picked comment wins and somebody gets one of these pedals. I think that's, again, no better endorsement of a product. If I have been the catalyst for making the content, creating the video, and maybe I use it all the time, and then I can share that with you guys, with the audience, with a giveaway. I think that's where I'm heading. Let me know what you think about that. Do you think that's a morally sound thing to do, ethically sound thing to do? Is that something you would appreciate more of? I will tell you that I can't remember the name of the company. Not the name. I can't remember which company it was. They reached out not that long ago. I don't know if it was JHS or Earthquake. Actually, I can't remember who it was. They had a product that was coming out or came out recently. Asked me if I wanted to check it out. I asked them that question, and there was something about it being, it's such a limited run, we just don't have any other units or something. Okay, fair enough. There are going to be moments like that where it's just not possible, and that doesn't mean I go, well, fuck you then, screw you guys. I totally understand where everyone's at. The bottom line is I don't expect anything. If I never got another email from another company ever again, totally fine. I've got access to fucking reverb.com and Perfect Circuit and all these places, and I know what I like, and I can, I know what my budget is, and if the budget allows, I'll go buy the thing. It's totally fine. I'll still make videos about it, So yeah, that is my take on it. As much as I can possibly remember, I haven't looked at my notes once. Have I covered everything? Yeah, I guess I'm not a store. That really helps. There's if you want to dig into that, there's a far more nuanced take on it by the YouTuber. What is it? KDH, Irish guy, super long hair, glasses. You know him, I'm sure. If you've watched any gear YouTube before, there was something he did, like a pretty nuanced, in-depth video about Andertons and the Victory amps, and Lee Anderton being part owner of an amp company that he was also making videos about selling on the way. It's like, if you want to dig into the ethics of that, there are far more researched and nuanced videos out there. I'll link to that. It's called Anderton's Big Secrets, from about a year ago. KDH is the YouTuber. I'll try and link to that below if you want to check that out, just give you an idea. And I believe there was like back and forth, and like it wasn't like Anderton's just disappeared and ignored him. I think there were messages back and forth. I can't remember the whole story. I just remember at the time thinking, didn't know that. It was one of those moments like, oh shit, Victory amps. Not that affects me. It's a guitar amp, I think, but just the fact that those kind of things exist, very, very interesting. And I'm not shying away from putting myself next to products. If you're aware of the whole Teletronics TDI thing, do I have them to hand? No, they're way back there, but you've maybe seen the fact that I had this DI. They sent me one for free years ago, 5 years ago. They made this beautiful DI box, like clean DI. I loved it. I think I made a video about it on the channel. I was like, man, this is so freaking clean. I think this is great for bass. I used it for recording a shitload. Again, another good example of, perfect endorsement is using the product all the time, which I did. Then it transpired that I was like getting into stereo sounds. Like, if I had another Teletronics, that would be a pretty awesome stereo setup. So I scoured the internet. There were none left. I then got in touch with the company who had since, I think, stopped building pedals, period, and found out that they had a bunch of new old stock from their limited run. I think there were only 50 pedals or something ever made, and they had them in a warehouse. And I said, well, can I buy them all and sell them through my website? And they did me like a bulk dealer deal, and I did it. I was very transparent about the process, and it was absolutely a sale. So it's not like I'm shy about being associated with a product and selling a product. I think there's a balance, and as long as you're honest and transparent and open about the process and where everything's coming from, I think you build trust in the audience. At least I hope I do. Again, that's something you can comment on, give me feedback on, let me know where I can do better. Let me know where I need to be more transparent. Let me know where there's a lack of information, whether that's from me or whether you feel a lack of information somewhere else on YouTube, on the internet, and you would like to know more of. Perhaps I can fill in some blanks in a future video, future episode. And then, with Signature Instruments, I've been involved in that for a very long time and tried to get out of it very much as well, despite the fact that sitting right here is my Matheson Signature instrument, and there are elements of royalties to be paid and all of that stuff. I've always been very transparent about that and made plenty of videos about it, tried to be like, hey, this is what's going on. And, I have been talking a little bit about the RKM thing, and that is about to come to fruition in terms of collaborating with them on an instrument. And there will be some kind of business thing. It's going to be very transparent. I am going to be doing this collaboration with them. We're going to sell a very limited amount of basses, and there will be some business relationship involved there, just as with I believe Ian Martin Allison did that with Mike Lull basses. Like, people do that with different companies on the super huge scale, like Steve Vai, for instance, or Billy Sheehan, or there's how endorsements work. I've talked about that a lot before, but it's really important, and maybe we'll close with that, is the endorsement of a product comes from the user to the company, not from the company to the user. If a company is paying a user, paying an artist, paying a musician to use a product, that's a paid review. That's a shill. That is, whether they're paying a channel or an individual to make a quote unquote review of a product, that's a paid review, and that's something you want to use your ears and not your eyes, and ignore everything that's being said and listen to everything that's being played to get your information. And when it's, like me, for instance, I endorse several products. And as you well know, like with Line 6, I use them every freaking day. And some products I endorse so hard, like the X5, the in-ears right here, that I asked them for another set to give away to you guys. So let's get to that. How are we going to do this? We're going to do a random comment, I think. We're going to do... I'll do a random comment picker. Hopefully I can get a visual version of that so you can all see that it wasn't bullshit. I'll get all the comments from below this video. And if you're just listening on Spotify or Apple Music, go over to the YouTube channel to participate. Leave a comment. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world. I'll ship it. I'll eat the money for the shipping. It will be totally free. Again, they haven't paid me to do this. But I will say the understanding of canceling our business agreement with the paid ad and sending me an extra set to give away to you guys, so you can, one of you is going to be able to make up your own mind. Maybe whoever gets it can chip in and say, hey, well, actually I didn't dig them, or there was this mid-range was missing, or I loved them, whatever it is. I'd like to hear the honest feedback from the other side as well. That sort of gets the loop going. The honesty loop grows, and it grows stronger, and you can base some ideas off of that, so you can get good information based off of this. That is my hope. That's what I hope I leave you with right now. I did miss some things. Let's really, really quickly, super quickly, because this should all be in the same video. One thing, when a company sends me a piece of gear, actually two things here with Earthquaker Devices. I forget which thing. Was it I think it was their distortion, right? And I can't see, it's over there, okay. I think the Blooms was the first thing they sent me. I think this was like their updated version. They got in touch out of the blue. I'd played their pedals for a long time, hadn't spoken to anyone at the company. They got in touch. I was like, I'll check this out. And there was, again, no, like, can you make a video about this? Just, we're sending this to a bunch of people. What's up? Let us know your thoughts. And that's another thing as well. A lot of companies will say, let us know your feedback, which is super nice. I wish more companies would do that. Not because I need a shitload more pedals. Obviously, I don't. I've got fucking hundreds here. But I always appreciate a company who's like, hey, how can we do this better? What are your thoughts on this thing? Is there anything you would change? And how could we improve it? Love that. If companies are asking that question, man, that you can go so much further with that, and you'll see companies with so much like better product in the market as a result of getting feedback from real people. rather than just going that downward spiral in the design, like the R&D process, and just it all being sort of internal. Get external on that thing and have as many conversations as possible. Anyway, long story long, whatever the pedal it was that they sent me first, I did kind of what I said about with the in-ears and just asking for other stuff. And I said, hey, yeah, sure, I'll check this out. But I've always been a fan of the Avalanche Run, stereo, reverb, delay. Could I check one out? They sent this over. Fantastic. Again, no payment, no like, hey, can you make a video about it? Not at all. And it's been in and out of videos on and off since they sent it to me. It's another wise move for any pedal company. It's like, maybe I don't make a dedicated, or whoever the person is doesn't make a dedicated video about it, but maybe it makes sense in a lineup at some point, or a shootout, or, you know, maybe you just actually want to, you don't have a combined stereo, delay and reverb, and you're like, oh, this is what that sounds like. It can be a really useful tool that may well show up later on down the road on the channel. Again, for me, it's like not an expectation at all, and I'm quite happy to never make videos about stuff. Anyway, what I said to them was, "Hey, can you send me that?" And I said, "I really want to try out the Swiss things." I ended up making a video about the Swiss things because I loved it so much. I was really conceptually, I was into it. I was like, when I finally got it on one of my boards, it made a massive amount of sense for a particular setup I had for a good like 6 or 8 months. I ended up making a video on it, a pedal video that got like 30,000 views or something on an old device. It's like 4 years old. They weren't trying to promote this. And I like views on my channel. I like to grow the channel. Of course, I want more subscribers. There is a payoff for me at the end of the day that doesn't have to be immediately financial. You know, as I grow the channel, it provides more things like a bigger audience. Maybe I sell more concert tickets as a result, or I sell more books or something like that. There is a long-term picture that I look at that isn't immediately financial. That's why I'm quite happy to say no. You can't pay me to do this. I'm not doing any pay reviews. So there is that thing where a company might send me one thing and they want my opinion on it, whatever, great. And we have a conversation about that. But I try and get right back at them and say, oh, by the way, you make these other 2 or 3 cool things that I would love to check out. I'm not going to promise I'm going to make a video about it, but you might see them show up on my pedal board or whatever. And the coolest companies like Earthquaker were super cool. They were like, yeah, no problem. Great. Let's do it. And they send them out. An add-on to that is that when I did meet Earthquaker, the cats at Earthquaker Devices at the NAMM show earlier this year, what is going on? I think my keyboard is broken because each time I put the password in, it's not working. Anyway, when I met the guys, they were like, hey, by the way, do you do affiliate links? Because that's another massive part of all of this. Probably a bigger thing I should have spent more time on. I was like, no, never done them. No idea. Like, oh man, you're leaving so much money on the table. You could be earning blah, 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 affiliate links. And then I look at other channels and there's like obviously it's not a 3-minute disclaimer. It's probably 20 seconds, but there's always this massive, oh yes, and this is, some people are like, oh, this is not a paid promotion. Other people are like, oh yeah, don't forget the affiliate links are below. This is what helps support the channel. Okay, great. Everything cool. No problem with that at all. But for me, again, I can only really speak for me. I was like, man, it's, yes, you earn a little bit of money, but like how many Avalanche runs are you selling at $250 via your channel to make a $7 commission or whatever it was, like Sweetwater or Sounds or whatever that company's called now? I was like, man, it feels like a very small payback. And again, maybe my channel just isn't big enough. Maybe people out there with 500,000 or 1 million subscribers, it makes sense for them, and it is a serious chunk of income when you do sell like 50 of these. But imagine you got to sell, if your commission is $7, you got to sell 50 of these to make $350. Have I done the maths right? I think that is 7 times 5, 35, 350. That's a lot of Avalanche runs. That's a lot of any pedal to sell to make $350. Now, of course, to some people, $350 a lot of money. But if $350 is a lot of money to you, I'm guessing you don't have 500,000 subscribers on YouTube. And maybe you don't even have 100,000. I don't even have $100,000 subscribers right now. And to go through all of that for a very small return, it just didn't make sense to me. Anyway, that's my little personal take on it. I know that's not for everyone. Get in the comments, please. I want to hear this. I want to see this conversation expand. I want to know what I missed today. I want to know where I can improve. I want to know what you see that I could do better and where you need more clarification, more information. One thing we didn't talk about, but I have in the past, but you could just slot that information that's in all those other videos into the context of this video. This episode is the MXR vintage bass octave, for instance, where they took one of my pedals to help clone to make this thing. So that's yet another aspect of this little world of gear. There are so many levels of collaboration. There are so many levels of involvement. I've probably missed 20 or 30 of them. I'd love to get in a room with someone like Josh from JHS or any of those people that are really versed in all levels of the business, of the manufacture, of the design, especially of pedals. I'd love to get in a room with a couple of people like that, vastly more knowledgeable than me, and pick their brains about it, open the conversation. I think that would be very interesting it'd be super interesting for me, and I hope in turn would be interesting to you. I'm not going to ask you to spam Josh Scott from JHS. I could probably email him. I've talked about that forever, and I know JHS follows this channel. I don't know. I've always felt a little shy in a lot of respects, and this thing I've been talking about asking for things rather than things being sent to me is very new. And every time I send an email, I don't feel great about it. But afterwards, the results and the feeling afterwards of where I don't feel used and I feel like I made a legitimate request feels way better. So I'm getting better at that. I'd love to speak to Josh. And there are probably a few other people off the top of my head that I can't remember who would make a great round table on this topic. I think that would be a fantastic episode of the podcast. I know I would learn a lot. That's it. Get in the comments. We're doing the giveaway. I'll do a random comment selection. Hopefully there will be hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of you, and one lucky person will get a pair of these X5 in-ear monitors. Very happy to send them anywhere in the world. Don't forget, the new book is still available for pre-sale for the next 2 weeks. At the website, it's linked below in the description of the video. The Bassist book, the Bassist Book of Scales and Arpeggios. It is the encyclopedia of Western harmony for bass players with everything you need in it. But hold your questions because the answer is yes. It's in there. Trust me. I've got like claw hand on my right hand for the amount I use the trackpad. I have been using the trackpad with Sibelius for the last months and the last year really, but really ramping up in the final days of fingering and tab and all that stuff. It's super labor intensive. So claw hand here highlights how much is in this book. Check it out. Super long one today. Can't wait for your feedback and your comments and the discussion that I am sure will follow. That's it. I'm out of juice. See you cats on the next one.